host, and this is the Gold Digger Podcast, where we're digging the dirt and finding the gold in people's lives. Grab a cuppa, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Before we start digging for gold, I just want to acknowledge that I'm broadcasting from Wajak Noongar Budja here in sunny Perth and pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this land, both past and present. Before we get down and dirty with our next guest, who is amazing, I'll just let you know we've been having a chat and it's awesome. And I'm going to start digging around in her life, but I want to share with you a quote from author Maston Kipp. He says, "The quality of your life is directly related to how many uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have." And today we're going to be talking about courageous conversations. So I thought that quote was really fitting. I had the good fortune to learn about the comfort zone. What a great learning that was. I was delivering a project. It was with young people around identity, and my co-facilitator took a session around the 3 zones that we live in. If you imagine it's a circle inside a circle inside a circle. And if we go to the very inner circle, this encloses your comfort zone. That's where you feel perfectly at ease and comfortable. You know everything inside your comfort zone. It's known to you, and it just causes those feelings of peace and ease. And if you were to go to the far outer circle and beyond, that represents the terror zone. And that's where you feel really afraid. You get the sweaty palms, the upset stomach, the racing heart. You know the drill. It's that really awkward, uncomfortable place. But between the comfort zone and the danger zone, which is what we call that terror outer place, is the learning zone. And this is where we get to explore and to decide if we're ready for the experience or not. And others can also decide if they're ready for the experience or not. And there's no pass or fail in the learning zone. There's only try and decide if you're ready or you're not ready. See, the truth is that we don't grow unless we're willing to abandon our position of comfort and stretch to become the next version of ourselves, who's more knowledgeable and more able. And today's guest knows all about how to have those courageous conversations. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the show Annette Stanton. Welcome, Annette.
Thank you very much. So lovely to be here. I look forward to our courageous conversation.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited to have you, Annette, and to just sort of before we started the broadcast, everybody, we're having a bit of a chat and finding our points of connection. And I feel that there's a really great vibe with Annette because we both have that same passion for developing and connecting, resourcing and strengthening, I guess, people within the community, but particularly women. So, Annette, it's so fabulous to have you. And what I want to do is ask you a question. I ask this question of everybody that comes on the Gold Digger podcast, because it just helps us to know the animal that we're listening to. Can you please choose an animal that best describes your personality and tell us why you chose that animal?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, let me tell you that I'm a tiger, as in the Chinese, astrology side of things. So the tiger within me is naturally courageous, hence the courageous conversations, is fierce, is focused, okay? So that's the masculine side of me. Now, I have another ocean animal that I would like to share with you that I embody and live by today and have done since I was a little girl, and that is the dolphin. Why? Because the dolphin did you know that the bottlenose dolphin has the highest emotional intelligence? It has a free flow about it. It has self-awareness, and it loves learning and growing and teaching. It's amazing. And I love that flow of energy. And that's what I live today.
Well, that's beautiful. I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to have to use that one in the future. But just so you don't feel alone, I'm going to tell you which animal I am today, and I am different animal every time I do the show, I have to say.
Okay.
Normally I'm the horse because I just love the teamwork and the courageous. The horse has got so much courage and sensitivity to people and situations. Mm-hmm. But today I'm feeling the bear. because they're fierce protectors of their offspring. They're cuddly, but sometimes they don't realize their own power, and they have a weakness for all things sweet. They love to hibernate, and they also love to express their affection with those that they trust. There's nothing more beautiful than seeing bears playing with their handlers. I was watching a video just the other day, and it just there was that real affection and desire to be close and connected.
That's beautiful, Hayley.
So that's me today.
I love it.
Yeah. But enough about me. Let's get back to digging for the gold in your life, Annette. Okay. We've only had a short time to hear about your story, so I invite you to jump right in and tell us who you are and about your work or life or whatever it is that will give us some context to our conversation today.
Sure. Okay. For those people that don't know me, I'm a life and business coach, and I've been coaching for pretty much over 40 years. And that stemmed from, I'll just give you a context of the background. When I was a little girl, I've always played sport, and I was always into my own self-awareness, self-mastery, and how the mind and the body work together and the importance of that synergy. And I became a champion sportswoman in that time, which then took me into studying my passion was personal and spiritual development. So I wanted to work on a holistic level with people. And when I was 24 at the peak of my game, I had a health scare. And that got me asking the bigger questions of my life. What is my life purpose? Why am I here at 24? So I started exploring through personal development. I was a secretary back then, but it wasn't my passion. It was, at the time, my day job. So as I started to explore even further, I brought all my strengths and gifts and talents and everything that I loved into a career that I love. And I became Australia's first holistic personal trainer and life coach. So that was over 30 years ago now.
Wow.
And then it took me into, as time went by, I learned a lot of lessons. And, you get to a stage in your career where you go, something is not quite, there's something more to me, and I'm not sure what that is. So I had to sit with it for quite a while I stayed in the personal training area. And then the universe made me have another look through, as I went through divorce, and I gained chronic fatigue. A personal trainer, chronic fatigue don't go together. And here I am about to turn 40 and starting all over again because my business flatlined. So I was forced to go inward and really heal and listen into my truth and get connected, because I had an outer vision that I lived a lot of that outer vision, but I still couldn't work out why I wasn't happy and fulfilled inside, no matter how much I achieved or received. So that was what I knew the deeper journey was then. And that's when I started. The question that I got asked by my first master coach was, what is it that you want for yourself and others in the world? And that literally took my breath away. And I'm like, wow, okay, let's explore this. And that's when I became an accredited certified executive personal and business coach. And I became Australia's first holistic life and business coach then. And that was, quite some time ago now. And then it's evolved since then. And I work with people from all around the world around really identifying what their true purpose is, what their passion is, and how do they bring that into a life and a career that they absolutely love.
Yeah, what a great job to do. The employment consultant in me goes, oh, that'd be fun.
It's my life's work. So this is what I help people to bring all that together in a way that they can honour their strength, their natural strengths and gifts and talents. Yeah.
And there's a real need for that. I know for myself, even Annette, I just had this conversation like literally yesterday with my new manager, who's just a wonderful woman, really wonderful woman. And because I was saying to her, if I'm going to invest my time in a qualification, I want it to be something that's going to be meaningful. Because I'm getting older. I don't want to be wasting money and time. I want to have some, know that whatever steps I take now are really meaningful and serve the purpose of what my life's here for. And she's going, oh, you need to go and have this conversation with this. We have a really wonderful supervisor, a psychologist who's just brilliant at career development. She says, you need to go and see Peter. Go and get that sorted out. He'll sort you out. But it's truth. You cannot, I would say this with all honesty. I've worked with, supporting people to understand themselves. You cannot help yourself understand yourself. You actually need someone to sit outside of yourself and provide you with the listening feedback on what you're actually saying about yourself sometimes. It's very hard for you to see clearly who you are in a three-dimensional way, because we are so impacted by the past and the messaging that we've received, by our own self-doubts and worries and concerns. I know that from my business journey. Not being paid what you're worth because you don't know what you're worth until you know what you're worth, if that makes sense. You know,
it does, absolutely.
So I can see there's a wonderful need for people like yourself in the world to help navigate that self-belief and find their pathway forward, and certainly with an understanding of the three-dimensional being, not just that, you know, we're not just cardboards, pop up and do the work. People, we have whole lives. So a holistic approach is so important. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's paramount to, you know, to be able to have someone that you can bounce off in the way of that can hold the space for you and can come from another, you know, an observing point of view, not their own point of view.
Yes.
So that's paramount, because we're inundated with so much knowledge, information, comparison. There's a lot of, you know, out there. So people are getting confused and overwhelmed. And it's important to tune in, with that right support without feeling like they're telling you what to do, how to do it, those sorts of things, because you can get way off your path. And I've been there myself on a few different occasions along my journey, as I've stepped into my wisdom years now. And it's trusting that intuition, trusting that, you know, the right people will be around you at the right time, and to know that, you know, people can help you with identifying what your truth is.
Yeah, for sure. Look, when we did the MYI project, which is my identity project for young people through Women Can International in 2021, the whole purpose of those 10 weeks was for the young person to explore and discover what it is that they loved. And we used the 5 senses to do that exploration. And the beautiful thing was in that journey, because it was about validating who they were as young people, you saw growth as they recognized what was important to them, not what people said about them. And, you know, some came into there with some big blockages in their life around their value, but left so empowered, having found their voice. Wow. And it came through that understanding of self and awareness of self. I think it's a real key, and you do need that externalization process, I think, to get the validation. Definitely. To really believe the messaging about yourself. So great. I love talking to you, because this is like my inner selfish thinking here.
Well, we all need reminders from within ourselves, and that's why I have, you know, mentors and coaches around me as well, and people who I trust and confide in. And that's what I find, you know, is the number one thing that a lot of my clients come to me for, is they want that sounding board, that unconditional sounding board where they feel safe and where the space is held in a way that they can hear their own articulation even, and then have that reflected back.
Yes.
Right. I get it, right? And then their heart and soul, and this is where the growth occurs, their heart and soul goes bang. It's like, I got it. It lands. And this is what we call embodiment.
Yes.
And when you embody it, you own it. You go, oh, my goodness, this is who I truly am, right?
Look, no, absolutely 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
So I want to get to some of the dirt part of your journey. of all the things that you've been through in your life, and I have no doubt you talked about a health scare, but you don't have to limit to that. Which experience do you think was your defining moment, where you got your embodiment, I guess, where you stepped into your personal power and went, I know who I am now?
Yes. As we know, like we all go through different life lessons. I've had a hell of a lot of life lessons along the way, and that's been my journey of consciously looking at the lessons. And that's when, being able to then impart that and inspire others. The one that I had that really stands out is when I was pregnant.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I heard the heartbeat and saw my unborn baby for the first time.
Wow. Yep.
And my heart skipped a beat in hearing that. And why it was most profound was because I miscarried. And then I wasn't able to have my own children. But I can tell you that heartbeat has never left me to this very day.
Mm. Yep.
The awakening for me was, and this is what I noticed even through the embodiment of that, because it was literally a cathartic embodiment of, do you realize that we are all empowering the breath of life here?
Yes. Yep.
Right? And from that breath of life, if we can trust our innate gifts and strengths and talents from within, the magic of that.
Yes.
And I've never left me. And I can tell you that it transformed my coaching to a deeper level, my enlightenment and my growth to a deeper level.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Which then, I was able to then bring on to having a conscious awareness, because I then got a puppy dog who became my baby. And he chose me for a reason, because he was a sickly dog, but I looked after him very well. He only looked like he was 5 when he was 15. So, but what I learned from that was the presence of life.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And the presence of human nature. And the depth and the infinite power and the infinite wisdom that we all have, and that we carry with us, that gold.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
So that's what, and it just transformed my whole inner body and outer body way of my business, my personal life, my marriage, my friendships, nature. I connect to nature in such a way that we are all one.
Yeah, beautiful.
Such a spiritual awakening. And now I teach a lot of it.
That's beautiful. It's interesting how trauma, just to sidetrack just a little bit, it's interesting how trauma does either awaken or close over the senses. I think I've had a miscarriage, and I just want to just acknowledge, because that sort of just went through what you said, but that's a major thing in your life. So I want to hold space, and I'm so sorry that was your experience, because I know what that feels like. But
I had a few, so it was it's been a real connection with masculine, feminine, my identity.
Yeah.
As a woman, as a businesswoman, as a high achiever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all those things, I learned how to not allow my ego mind to rule my life, and and transforming my beliefs because of that. It was, I literally was unraveling the old me, and for the new me, the true me. Yes. To naturally, organically step forward, not force.
Yes. No. Yeah. Yeah.
This feels. I never felt that before. Who is this one? Right. Even the growth of my hair, because I used to have short hair, and I just wanted to step into my own natural, organic self, and this is what I help to do now. It's like go with it. No rules. Let's just listen into what feels right for you.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. And, I think when that does happen to you, there's so many questions you have around yourself, around, nobody expects to get pregnant and not have a baby at the end of that. Mm-hmm. And so when you do lose that child through, whatever stage it might be, early or late, or even stillborn, it feels like a challenge to your feminine capability.
Correct.
Was one of the things for me. I had to keep going till I had another child. It was an inner driven sense of, I have to confirm I'm still okay.
Yes.
And I can imagine how for somebody who's never get to have that opportunity of having a real child, a child that they deliver and get to grow up with, that must be very, very difficult.
Well, the biggest lesson that I learned around that was, especially, well, I'm not a real woman if I don't have, and all these other women are out there, successful in business, in life, and all these areas. They've still got, kids. I had the whole, going on, chitter chatter.
Yeah.
And I realised it was like my whole life journey, right from when I went through that, like the chronic fatigue, the business flatlined, I went through divorce. As a high achiever, I was in control.
Yeah.
Since that time, and even more so, obviously, since miscarriages, I had to learn the true art of surrendering and allowing.
Yes, yes.
And how that did not mean resignation.
Yes, yes.
And how I could, the power of vulnerability and the power of femininity with the masculinity, which is the action.
Yes.
I got a deeper embodied experience of what it means to hold the space and hold the inspirational vision from inside out with divine time and letting go of results of when you think it's all going to happen.
Yes, yeah.
So many lessons I learned around that.
Beautiful.
So I had to learn that the masculine was not my driver.
Yes.
It was the feminine creativity.
Yes.
But I needed to listen to the inspiration. So when you think about the word inspire, innovate, intuition, it all starts with in.
Yes.
What we do as the masculines, what do we have to do? We've got to get out there and make it happen. No, it's all push, force, make it happen. Yeah. I had to unravel all that. And so, it's literally forcing me to go, no, the action is coming through from my inspired next step. That's the action. And it became a flow. Now I call it the free flow zone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the free flow zone. I love it. In action. Yeah.
But it's such a better life to live. I'm like laughing because, you're talking my journey of reaching out and wanting and desiring and chasing. I did that for so many years. And then I think I got to a point where I don't even know how this happened, but I had a few knives in the back, stepped into leadership, had a few knives in the back, went, oh, don't like that, retreated, and went, I don't want to be a leader. That's too ugly. And then learned about the crow and the eagle. The crow pecks at the eagle gets altitude until the crow can't breathe. Learned that, just that one little visual lesson was enough for me to go, just go higher. And not about forcing myself above others, but just that whole thing of let it go, let it slide off you like it's nothing. Just keep the vision, keep moving towards the vision, just trusting that what's required is going to arrive when it needs to be there, that you're enough in this moment, that you don't have to fandangle, dazzle everybody with your brilliance. You just be you and be real and be honest and authentic and take the steps as they come, because we get guided every day internally, and it's about listening to that guidance and attuning yourself to it and walking with it. And I think since I got that lesson, life flows.
Yes, it does.
Less struggle. Less struggle.
Yes, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
The body meant to be in a state of flow and ease. And when you're struggling, then you're trying to force it. And now I know. It's like I don't do rush, I don't do hurry, I don't do adrenaline, I don't do any of that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I used to be the person that I'll just squeeze this in before I do that.
Yes. I know that feeling.
Space in mind and body.
Yeah. I think my egg chairs become my best friend. It was a big thing for me to sit, to just stop and sit after so much trauma and, demand on my life. I guess it's demand. 4 children is big demand, and I had 4 under 5, so it was constant demand. And then you lay the trauma on top of that. You get into a habit of crisis and response, whether it's just even the crisis of getting to somewhere, that whole crisis, rushed, stressed feeling. And I had to learn to sit when my kids moved out and there was just one at home.
Wow.
And it suddenly had all this space. And I went,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What do I do
you're
with
not
this
alone
space?
there. I hear this story all the time. When my clients say to me they're just high achieving, go-getting personality style, it's like, all I want to do is just have some time and I want to and go to the beach just for me.
Yes.
And do you know how long it takes them to do that, to give themselves permission just to go, even just to walk on the beach and do nothing? And I assure them that in the no thing is everything.
Yes. Because then your brain gets creative.
Yes.
Stop and let it
Exactly. It's a productive. So I've got to train their brain to go, you are being productive by walking on the beach. So I've got to transfer that.
Yes. Yeah. I've learned to garden, and I've never been that big into nature, but moving up into the hills is just radically different. Being amongst the trees, it's just instant difference in my well-being. I didn't realize how important being out where nature exists and how being in a quiet space as well, because this is such a beautifully quiet space where we are in the hills, how important that is to your well-being.
You do. It's everything, because it fills your energy and vibration up. And this is where we call the vitality is, the force of your life, right? Yes. And nature will do that, whether you're, some of my clients just while they're having their morning coffee, they'll just walk on their own grass barefoot.
Yes.
Do things like that. So it's not a time thing. It's an energy thing of got to give yourself that first to fill your cup up.
Yes, definitely.
Before you give to anybody else. And it doesn't have to be a time thing.
No, it's not. It's just about.
It can be 5 minutes. It's a presence, fully presence.
I when I was working at North Metro Mental Health Service, they took us on a guided meditative walk. It was a sensory walk. We weren't allowed to talk. And we just had to walk around the hospital grounds, looking at the plants, the flowers, the animals, feeling the breeze. And they took us down to the back of the hospital, and there was just this one tree with a lot of green grass, and then there was a big mound where the high freeway comes through. So off in the distance is the mound of dirt. But there's this just big space, open space of green grass with this one big canopy tree. And they sat us down on the grass under the canopy tree. And this was the first time I think I'd done that, like, since the kids were tiny. And I just sat on that grass, and I thought to myself, I feel like an Aboriginal elder sitting out here under this tree. This sense of connection into country was so beautiful. And just sitting there and that, they were doing a bit of a guided meditation at that time. But the sense of peace, to feel just that breeze on your skin and the grass under your feet and knowing you're one with nature was amazing, just amazing. I think we could talk about that whole self-care, nurturing space.
Totally. That can be another conversation.
but what I wanted to sort of get to is what kind of makes you tick, what lights you up like a Christmas tree?
Well, you know what? It's exactly what you were just sharing. When people connect to their oneness, when they feel a sense of, wow, they hear their inner voice, they hear their inner knowing, and they're connected with, I know exactly who I am and what I want to do next.
Yes.
So they come into the here and now instead of chasing after, an elusive future. And there's the light goes on. There's a glow in their eyes. So the eyes are the seed to the soul. So it tells me and it shows me that they're connecting with their heart and soul. That's what lights my fire. And I go, oh, wow, you're connected to the uniqueness of who you are and why you're on this planet. No, and we're all looking for this big purpose of why am I here? Well, it's whatever the purpose is from within yourself. As you connect with your presence of who you are, each moment in time, every action you take is purposeful.
Yes. Yeah. I so agree.
It's purposeful, right?
Yeah.
So, and what happens is you eventually start to feel a sense of your own true purpose, instead of trying to find it. And I say to my clients, I've got to find my purpose. I said, no, let's just breathe and relax. Come back in your body and it will find you.
Yes.
It will find you. Let's explore this more instead of trying to find it, because it's coming from here up, the head up, neck up, right? It's an inner body experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what makes me tick. Lights me up like a Christmas tree. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I remember I did some coaching with somebody many moons ago now, but defining purpose for me came down to the two words of wisdom and abundance. And when I brought those together, that my purpose was to share wisdom, to create abundance.
Yes.
When I got that, everything else falls into place.
Correct.
Because everything becomes on purpose.
Yes.
Because then I know what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to share wisdom to create abundance, and whatever that looks like, whether it be in a business setting where I'm helping people plan and put things together, or if it's in the national setting of mental health and looking at their systems and going, where's the wisdom that's going to create the abundance? And that, that's the end story, for the consumer or the carer. When you come through those lenses.
And that moves into your family life and your, all areas. Yeah,
all areas. So finding that purpose, I think, is really important. I love there was a guy who I read many moons ago who talks about that whole thing around purpose, and he says, we often look for purpose, but what we're actually looking for is mission. And Bottom Wiser, I think his name was, and he said, if you think of the bee, what's the purpose of a bee? Everyone thinks the purpose of a bee is to create honey, but that's actually the mission of a bee is to create honey. The actual purpose of the bee is to cross-pollinate and keep our whole ecosystem alive.
Yes.
And so while the bee's busy doing its mission, it's accomplishing its purpose.
Correct.
And I love that purpose is actually the impact of the mission, rather than you thinking that the mission is your purpose.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
And then that frees you from the responsibility of crafting your purpose.
Yes, it does.
You get clear on your mission.
Yes. You're literally, getting the head and trying to work it out of the way.
Yeah. And then it becomes very clear, it becomes very clear. I think this is a natural point for us to have just a couple of minutes break and out. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have a conversation around some of the harder challenges that you've had. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right.
Voices going round in my head. I don't believe them. Don't believe what they said. But the light is calling. It's calling. Someone help me to find my way. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my soul. Nothing feels like it used to anymore. Mom told me who I need to be, 'cause I can't find me. Shattered like the pieces of my life, broken and scattered. I try to find the light. Darkness consumes me. It consumes me. I just can't find who I need to be. Just can't keep moving with missing pieces of my
listening to the Gold Digger podcast, and I'm your host, Hayley Solich. Today, we are having a conversation with Annette Stanton, an author, international speaker, visionary leader, and high-performance coach. Welcome back, Annette.
Thank you, Hayley. Thank you so much.
It's been so great to just sort of look at some of those bigger concepts of purpose and inner voice and intuition and finding who you are, sitting in who you are, rather than trying to drive the train, so to speak.
Hello.
Yes, we've all been train drivers in our life. Anyone high achievers have definitely had some train driving at some point of their lives. But sometimes it's about getting out of the driver's seat and into the caboose, and allowing yourself to get into flow. Go with that flow. Working with people to help them achieve high performance, that must be frustrating for you sometimes, I'm sure. And what's the most difficult part of that role?
You know what? It's interesting because just on that question, as you're asking it, I thought of something else to say. You know what the most difficult part of that would be? Is seeing myself in others in so many ways. It reminds me of, well, the good thing about it is how far I've come, but also where I'm at now and the expansion of growth that I'm literally awakened to in that moment of these conversations. Because the biggest thing I find is high performers, very hard on themselves. I'm very hard on myself, and I've had to, it's been my life lesson, become my own best friend, notice my self-talk and all those sorts of things, because we do. That's been our self-motivator. And we drive ourselves intrinsically. And, I used to be of the old no pain, no gain, old school philosophy, push myself to make things happen and to unravel all that. I'm certainly majorly better at it now, and so I guess that's what I find is the frustration more than anything is I am in contact with these amazing people who have succeeded in so many areas. My heart goes heavy when they aren't a witness to their own success. They aren't a witness to their own amazingness, if that's a particular word, but I guess, and what they've accomplished. And the biggest one is when they're not a witness and conscious about the lives that they've transformed along their life journey in their careers and at home.
Yes. Yeah. As somebody who's been a high achiever in lots of different areas of my life, and faced a lot of challenge, I guess, in that journey, you do, because for whatever reason, whether it be jealousy or I don't even know sometimes what the reason is why people feel challenged by you when you have talent or skill, but you do get to a point where you don't, you've been scarred by the journey. So you've closed yourself down to accommodate others. It goes back to that Nelson Mandela speech around, who are you to not shine, really? Because
absolutely. Well, that stemmed from Marianne Williamson.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is. I know that one because back in the 80s, I had that up on my wall, and that became my mantra to remind myself. This is what it's about. Don't create darkness so that I don't shine my light in others to shine their light, right?
Yeah.
So because, and this is something that I was talking to a client the other day, very much a high achiever, and we were talking about expectations. So we have high expectations on ourselves, which then we have high expectations on others, which is then thwarted because then we don't get to see or acknowledge our own accomplishments.
Yes.
So I guess the most challenging and the most frustrating around that is when, it's like to bring them on the journey and to awaken and become insightful of where they're at.
Yes. Yeah.
It is to celebrate the journey along the way.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But high achievers are so busy, already focused on the next.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So it's like and the only way to create mastery is to acknowledge where you're at, to then take that with you because you instantly feel a sense of this is who I am even more so, solidified, embodied. It needs to be embodied for them to have this natural presence and a natural calming confidence that goes, yes. And then it's not a force. It's not a future thing that they chase after. So that's what we want to get to, for them to experience that. So that's the challenging part, I find, that it takes a while, but they do eventually step into that and feel that presence and the energy from within, so that they can acknowledge their accomplishments and take that with them instead of just chasing, you know. And the biggest thing I found also was that when I embodied that, my vision started to come towards me instead of me chasing after it. And this is what all my clients are, you know, my mission is to help them bring that into play so that they can feel, you pull it towards you through your energy and vibration, and inspired right action. Inspired right action is what comes to and through you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can feel that. And a recent example of that for me would be I'm resigned from the National Mental Health Consumer and Care Forum.
Yeah.
But I took the moment to celebrate. We had a 20th anniversary for the forum, which I organised the dinner for that. But I took the moment at the dinner to actually sit in the completion of that.
Yes.
And to celebrate it.
Nice.
And consequently, I got to step out of it feeling like it was a completed journey.
Yes.
And with a full sense of the service that I had provided. Yes. I came away feeling really, really warm about the experience, whereas in the past I probably would have done a dump and run on to the next thing. But I actually got to sit in the completion.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that's where we go. It's then whole and complete, because you then remain whole and complete, which takes the whole you into your next journey.
Yes.
Instead of, you know, any residue.
Yes.
Of dump and run situation or any interpretation that you might have had, because most people are trying to prove themselves in the next journey that they didn't feel within themselves, that they didn't produce in that journey, in that moment in time, or whatever that situation is. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can walk away with your head held high, but you can also just celebrate with others, you know, your accomplishment.
Yeah, and letting it in. Because working with a client at the moment who's in the process of moving on, and all her peers are acknowledging her for what she's accomplished.
Yeah.
And she's noticing this, vulnerability of letting it in.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to feel this. And it's not about feeling, you know, egotistical or anything like that, but it's about a humble.
Yeah, that's right.
Realization of the lives that you've transformed. This is the mission.
Yeah.
You produced your mission in the time that you have been here. Yeah. And when you are humbled like that, you take that into the next area.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what she found also is by not letting it in, she realized that she was an overachiever.
Yes. Yeah.
Trying too hard to prove herself. I said,
that's right.
For the next embodiment of work to occur, I need you to let it in humbly now, so that you're not going to prove yourself as you step into the next body of your work. You don't need to prove yourself any longer.
Yeah.
Not that you never have, you never had to, but this is the habit of what we think we need to do in order to be seen as successful, be seen as doing the right job, or whatever our story is. Yeah.
And it's interesting too, you know, because coming from that business and building businesses sort of background, I think the day that I became really authentic, and I've always been a bit, you know, online can be, you can get engaged in ways of being that are not authentic in the online community and platforms, and take on personas that are not you, not your voice, to try and do this mastery of convincing people that you're worthy of investing in time and money. And the day that I actually just sort of really sat with myself and went, you know what, I'm just going to be myself.
Yes.
Or warts and all, whatever that is, and just be myself, always be myself, and start to speak from the heart instead of thinking around convincing people to want to invest, you know, in my business, whatever that might look like. That's when things just changed for me. That's when people started to follow, when people wanted to connect when doors opened for me. It was when I became comfortable with who I am and what that looks like. And I allowed the success to come find me, I guess is the right way to put that.
Yes, nicely put. Love that.
It's a different energy.
It is.
Definitely a different energy.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like it comes towards you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So are there any success stories that you'd love to share that would encourage somebody who might be sitting in that place of feeling driven, thinking that they can't find the next step for them in terms of understanding themselves or finding their purpose or pathway?
Yeah.
Is there any stories that you'd like to share that might encourage them that real change is possible?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there are so many different stories, but I'll just share one that was highlighted even more recently, which was CEO, major organisation, been there for a very long time, very successful, knew that there was a new body of work that she wanted to step into, but did not know what that looked like yet. Had a sense of it, had a sense of her purpose and her mission. Yet the formation of how that looked, the planning and all that sort of stuff wasn't clear to her yet. So that's why she came to me. The thing that stood out the most at the start was she had a knowing of, I don't want to rush this. And this is what it takes to grow, because you can't rush growth. Yeah. And when you have a calling and an inner knowing, to move on to this, it's like it'll come towards you. And my experience is it comes towards you in like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
You know, the breadcrumbs, the pieces of the puzzle will come together, right?
Yeah.
So we've been working on the inner journey for her to gain consciousness around what you were talking about earlier, permission to walk in nature. Mm-hmm. And then practicing presence in the workplace that she currently is in a new way. Bringing the person who she knows the essence of her mission, right? Bringing that mission into the here and now of the environment that she's currently working in, right? So you, instead of trying to look for it out there, you've got to bring it into where you are now. And it's really, we've been looking at all the strengths and the gifts and the talents and everything collectively over the contribution that she's transformed lives in, communities, teams. And she's filling that up. And literally I've got her to write in her journal any insights, any aha moments, while she's at work. What is she noticing about herself? Become the observer of self. Yeah. What are the things that she's noticing lights her, you know, her up? What are the things that don't? What's the culture in the organisation that she's noticing that she's outgrown? Yeah. Right? So this is what we're working on. And because she's in that exploration phase, she's been able to work from inside out and allow that space and time, giving herself permission. Now, there has been moments of the high performance, high achiever, go-getter, personality style every now and again coming in saying, I need a plan. I need a plan.
Yeah.
And within a session, as we're talking through, she's gone, I already know the plan. It's still coming to fruition and I can't force it. That was just the old me trying to force it, you know, because this is what happens. We're all taught what's the goal, what's the plan.
Yes.
Right? It's not as easy as that.
No, and especially not if you're growing something a bit organically.
Correct.
Because it doesn't come out like a well-formed baby. It comes out ugly and disproportionate and, you know, in terms of you get a bit over here and then you get a bit over there. And
now there will already be a nucleus of the plan.
Yeah.
Which she's been writing down, right?
Yeah.
Oh, these are the services I want to offer. This is the essence of it. This is the team culture. This is everything.
Yeah.
So I'm getting her to embody it.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way that she's never embodied the essence of her mission on this planet ever.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that's what she's going to take with her what she's calling her next embodiment of work.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And as you're speaking that, I'm thinking of my strategic branding training at uni. of mood board. Why did they do a mood board? Why do they pick an archetype that you go, well, what do we want this to look and feel like? And you pick an archetype, and then that archetype has an energy associated with it. If you pick the rebel, it's got a different energy to if you pick the sage, which is the wisdom and the dependable. They have an energy of their own. And then, the mood board has the colours, and the colours bring an energy to the business as well. So it takes on a life force of its own when you become clear around what it is you're crafting. So, I can see that. Beautiful.
Yes, yeah. And it's coming from a totally different angle from, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think clarity, if I were to summarize what you're saying, in this whole interview, you're talking about getting clarity around who you are, not from a driven space, but from that internal coming out space.
Correct.
Of allowing yourself to be yourself. I spent so much time when I was in business trying to be all the bits. The best training I had was from Wealth Dynamics, learning about flow and learning about team and the value of team. I think because I was, a mother of 4 and having to pull a family forward, my husband had some struggles with, physical illness and mental illness. And I was so used to being the driver of the whole team.
Yes.
That I thought that the business I had to do it all myself, and because I could take on other things. But learning that flow is where it's easier. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's easy.
No.
It still takes effort.
It's an ease and flow, but you got to still act on it.
Yeah, exactly. You still got to be motivated. But it's way less stressful than trying to go broad. If you master instead of trying to jack of all, you gain some momentum and So for me, if I was to summarize what you were sort of saying, I think it's around that getting in tune with yourself and giving permission to be yourself, and then allowing that to be your pathway that brings you forward, rather than trying to determine who you are and push yourself to be that person that you think you need to be to meet whatever it is. I think that's wonderful.
That's a harder journey.
Yeah, and I'll wrap it up in one last little story. Okay. When I was a Women Can woman, when I started Women Can International, and I was separated from my partner, and I'd just driven this big truck to move us, and I was full of women can, And one day I was in my car and I had a flat tire. It was pouring down with rain, and I sitting on the side of the road, and I have a choice to make. I can get out and change the tire myself. I do know how to change tires. Or I can call the RAC and play the woman in distress and wait for some male to come and rescue me. And so I go, I can do this. I can change the tire. So I ring the RAC as a backup. I get out and I start changing the tire, thinking that they'll take 2 hours to come and rescue me. And so I'm halfway through getting a tire off. I've got the tire off. I've got the new tire out. I'm about to put the new tire on. And the guy from the RAC arrives and he takes over and quickly realises that the tire I'm about to put on is flat. So I sort of was sitting back watching him work and reflecting, and I went to myself, why did I have to do that? Why did I have to get out of the car, get absolutely soaked, and then embarrass myself because I'm about to put a flat tire on anyway? What was driving me? And it was in that moment I realized women can, if they want to. They don't have to.
Yeah. They
can choose. And that choice to me was very powerful. That was a real moment of knowing.
Beautiful.
Knowing that we have choices in life, that we don't have to be driven. We don't have to prove anything. We can just be and allow flow and ease and grace and stand back and allow a male to have whatever role he has to have, whether it's the stronger person to lift something, or it's, it's the peace and patience person. Sometimes I find my husband's very centered and I need to pull into that energy of being centered. The question of why are you doing that has always been a great question for him to ask of me. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to break yourself inside out to go and do that? I think when we can come and just be content with who we are and just allow that flow and grace, I think that's a really wonderful space to be, and wonderful work to be doing, Annette.
It is. Thank you. Absolutely.
Lighting people up from the inside out.
Yes. I love it.
Awesome job to have, I think. So just to wrap up, 30-second message for the world, what would that message be?
The message is that each and every one of us has the light inside, and you're absolutely right. We do have our own clarity from within when we keep life simple, when we tune into our true self, and that's where natural confidence comes from, and that's where we continue to seek freedom and peace. That is where it comes from, when we own the clarity of this very moment by being fully present. And we all have that infinite power within to share with the world. And, I believe that we're all born leaders. We're all born to be the leader of our whole life.
Yeah.
And to listen into that inner voice, the inner vision, which is our mission on this planet. And the mission on this planet is unique to each and every one of us, whatever that is.
Yeah, and I think it does start with those courageous conversations that we going back to the start of what we were talking about, that to do your job well, you have to be willing to push the envelope, I'm sure, with people.
I do that every day within myself.
Asking those harder questions, why questions.
Yes, definitely. That's the path. That's the pathway. That's the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so good to have you in there. I could probably sit and talk to you for 20 years.
Same. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
It's been really wonderful. And maybe we'll get a chance to have a conversation again. And I always say, with guests, it'd be wonderful to have them interview me so that I can, they have a chance to speak to me.
Absolutely. Yes, we'll organise that. No, we will.
No, that would be awesome. And where to from here?
Where to from here? Oh, look, more of trusting my infinite power within and teaching others in the world how to trust their own and to listen into their own, innate clarity and living the strengths and the gifts and the talents that they're born to live with, and express that so that people can master their own destiny and live a life and a business that they absolutely love.
That's wonderful. Like, truly wonderful and very worthwhile. Thank you so much for coming today and having a conversation. It's been a true joy today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I wish you every success, and no doubt we will meet again and have further courageous conversations.
We will indeed. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again, Hayley. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Gold Digger podcast with host Hayley Solich, and we've been digging the dirt with Annette Stanton. If you have enjoyed the show, please consider following, leaving a comment and sharing this podcast with your friends on social media. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.